I think this is one of the last warmer days that we're gonna have because we have our frost that's gonna happen, and that's why we're in our garden today and we're harvesting what we can. No, that's not for you, pigs. Sorry. And maybe if it goes bad, we're gonna give it to you. 6 months ago is when we first planted our garden this year. We decided to use this black commercial landscape fabric because honestly, we were just tired of all the weeds. Before, we would use a lot of wood chips, put used feed bags between the rows, and what we've learned over the years is that weeds, they don't care about your feelings. They don't care. They're gonna grow no matter what.
Might come with a bunch of eggs. But look at this, isn't this a pretty cabbage? So pretty. Look at that, isn't that pretty? So nice. Hey, tick, 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 tick. I actually had no hope for these. The caterpillars ate them up early on, and I was like, these guys are not even gonna grow. Isn't that pretty? It's a good one. Here you go, pigs. I'm happy to have that. They're looking big. Like this one right here is big. She's big boned. I wouldn't say there's like a lot of fat on her. I would just say she's just big boned.
That's a stingy one. Takes all the food.
This is our first year growing fennel. I wanted to incorporate more herbs in our garden this year. We actually didn't harvest like the bottom portion of the fennel, which we can. We still can. But my main goal was to grow it for seed. I wanted to harvest fennel seed and put that in our like our spices and dry them out. I did harvest a little bit of dill seed, but this is fennel seed, and I'm gonna wait until it finishes going to seed and then harvest all of the seeds. You can use it for making sausage. So I did harvest some of these leaves here, and I dried those out for making spices.
We planted tomatillos probably the first year we've been here, and then every year it just kind of like always been a volunteer plant for us. Always right here. There's always a tomatillo plant that grows right here, but it never does great. It kind of like, I think it just kind of gets a late start, so it doesn't have time to grow. We're harvesting tomatillos now. They're just kind of small. One thing we should do is probably save these seeds. Even with this weed barrier that we put in this year, the garden still looks a mess. It's a little bit less of a mess though, because we do have the weed barrier on.
Well, look at the spots that have the weed barrier. It doesn't look as crazy. Like this, it looks a mess right here because this doesn't have the weed barrier. Right here has the weed barrier. It just looks like an overgrown garden. Here looks like the weeds took over. But we didn't put the weed barrier here because we had carrots and some potatoes, like root stuff. So maybe we just do that in a raised bed next year. Because I really do like the weed barrier. I mean, this was the test of all tests. This was awesome. I loved it. I would do it again. Do we see salsa in our near future?
Oh yeah. Look at this row. This row is great. This is where we harvested our cabbage. But you know, no weeds. We still have pumpkins here. Now pumpkins kind of grew over this trellis here, so we have some hanging pumpkins, and then we have some that are kind of growing on top of this cattle panel. We had the best watermelon harvest this year, and I really think it's because of the black landscape fabric. You know, it didn't give the bugs a chance to get up in this watermelon. The vine's already dead, so I'm gonna take that out. So this is probably our sixth watermelon that we harvested this year. Usually it's maybe one watermelon, maybe.
Yeah, these okra trees are gonna have to be like sawed down.
Pigs want more food.
Usually our basil's done like before summer. And this basil, I don't know if just because these leaves have protected it from the harsh sun.
What is that, Penelope?
Fennel tea.
Fennel tea? Mm-hmm. Let's try it. Try the fennel tea.
It's very good. It's my favorite tea.
Our tomato plants, they're dying off now. We're kind of letting them be. We have so much tomatoes. We froze a lot of tomatoes and we still need to can them. It's a little breezy today and it's a little kind of cool. I think this is one of the last warmer days that we're gonna have because we have our frost that's gonna happen, and that's why we're in our garden today and we're harvesting what we can. One thing we did do good this year was flowers. We have so many beautiful flowers this year in the garden.
This year we were really intentional about still having flowers in the garden, but mindfully placing them, and we couldn't have any volunteers spring up because of the landscape fabric. But I think I really enjoy having the flowers intentionally placed like on the outskirts of the garden. I felt like that really worked well for us because we were able to harvest and enjoy them. And they were also attracting the pollinators and the beautiful butterflies. So I'm really pleased with that this year.
These pumpkins are way done. I don't even know. Do we know what kind of pumpkin this is?
Somebody sent me pumpkin seeds that were labeled pumpkin pie pumpkins, and that's what came out. But I googled it, and the closest thing I can find is a Kentucky field pumpkin.
No, that's not for you pigs. Sorry. And maybe if it goes bad, we're gonna give it to you. We did do good on okra, don't you think?
We did amazing. I did 2 different varieties, a red variety from Baker Creek and then a green variety from a friend of mine at a seed swap, and both did amazing. They keep getting longer and not fatter. We want them to get fatter and not longer.
We love having the 2 pigs at this time of year because that's when the garden's starting to die down. That's when we're starting to rip out stuff from the garden, and they're already done for the year. And with that, we get to just throw them over where the pigs are at because they're just right there. And so they could eat it, and in return, we're making bacon with it.
Remember I saw that other one up there and it was extremely long.
What is that?
Like a giant nose.
This is a mushroom. It's not one that you want in your garden.
Some kind of weird fungus.
Oh, and it smells like poop. Ooh. Yeah.
What does it smell like?
It smells like poop. Ah! Ah! It's too windy! I'm like spreading its spores all over the place.
You don't want that in your garden or in your property actually, because it stinks like poop. This is our 5th season growing in North Carolina. We started off with probably from that corner here, that end, probably to here was our very first garden. And then over the years it kind of just grew. Kept on adding rows and rows and rows. And then also bringing in compost. We must have brought, I think every year we bring in compost. We have very red clay soil. So over time, using the chickens, pigs, bringing in compost, you know, pretty much doing it like a no-till system here, it has developed into what it is today. How's the greenhouse going?
Good. This is our pepper greenhouse. I always wonder why our peppers uproot themselves. Does anybody know why? I don't know if I'm just not planting them deep enough, but as they, you know, get heavier and taller, they tip over. Some of them I stake in the ground and they still seem to tip over. I'm having trouble with the peppers here. But they always seem to like uproot themselves.
We have a pepper plant here. Bell peppers did well for us this year. Yeah. This is way overgrown, my bell pepper bush. This summer, this greenhouse turned into a pepper greenhouse because that's really all we grew in here all summer was peppers.
But that was the plan because we've always done tomatoes, and tomatoes in here take off, and they do a little too well, where like we'll prune them back because this space is so small, like we can't walk in. So it can be frustrating because the tomato plants can just get really out of control in here.
We're supposed to get down to the 30s, I think tomorrow. So with that, we gotta put our sides down in our greenhouse here, and that's how we, you know, the greenhouse is not heated, so it's really just for season extension. I mean, eventually at some point it's gonna get so cold that those peppers are just gonna die off. It's kind of hard when you're planning to move, you know, like otherwise I'd be building another greenhouse. Just maintain, right? Just maintain while we look for properties.
Someone took a bite of this bell pepper.
Ooh. The pigs don't mind.
Actually, the pigs don't like bell peppers.
They don't?
The sisters don't. The brothers did. The sisters don't like bell peppers.
Picky. Picky girls. Hey, sisters. My big girls. Here's a nice bell pepper. You eat it? No. Overall, how do you think this garden went this year? What do you think?
Well, it's kind of hard to say because this year was a really wonky year for us. Right in the springtime, we were convinced that we were going to move.
Yeah.
So we were like, well, we're not going to be here at this property. We thought we were going to buy a property, and then that fell through. And so we were like, oh no, now we have to plant. But I think we'll find another property soon, so should we plant? And there was just a lot of conversation, a lot of back and forth on like, I don't know, should we invest in it and plant? And we were, you know, planting season was upon us, and we were like, well, let's just plant, you know, let's just plant. Right. So we kind of half-heartedly plant, but I think considering that we half-heartedly plant with the mindset of like we might move, it did really well. The steps were, let's just get seeds in the starter trays. We did that. Well, let's just get the starts in bigger pots, and we did that. Well, let's get the plants that are in bigger pots in the ground, and then it eventually led to a garden. And it did really well considering that we didn't really invest a whole lot of effort and mental energy into planting this garden. There's like successions of planting throughout the year. It's not just like boom, drop it all in the ground in the springtime and then you're done. It's like, well, let's, you know, plant another session of spinach, or let's plant our pumpkins, which we didn't do. We did, but not like how I wanted to. But anyhow, all year long, I can't believe we're already at the, you know, winter season. Fall, we're in fall. You know, we still haven't moved. But we have a garden and we've had so much harvest from this garden. But one thing that we did plan for, because we planned it last year, was to have the peppers in the greenhouse, because I was so sick of having tomatoes just being overgrown and we couldn't walk in there anymore. And I know peppers don't get as crazy as tomato plants do. And this has turned out really, really nice. So it's hard to say like, oh, you know, what will we do differently, because we didn't really have a plan at all this year. We had no plan. We just lived week by week.
And not to mention, I was pretty much sick all year.
Yes, that was another thing.
Starting in January, off and on.
So we couldn't really get out here and do a lot of things.
I was like, so I think we're super thankful for that weed fabric that we had on. Yes. I think that helped us get through it too. So I think we'll probably do that weed fabric again. That's it. This is what we harvested today. Some pumpkin, the last watermelon, a bunch of peppers. Ryan's taking a picture for Grandma. Frost is coming, so we wanted to get in there and get as much stuff out as we can. So we'll see about planting a winter garden.
I think we're late for that.
We might be too. Again, you know, we had this mindset where we're gonna move, guys.
We still have that mindset.
Yeah, exactly. Boom, that's it. Lorraine put all the vegetables away that we harvested this morning. How long did that take?
I think it took 2 hours. There's more peppers in the fridge, so that's, and it looks like nothing now because it's all cleaned up and washed.
Because it's one thing to grow the food, but to actually put it away, that's a whole other thing.
That takes a long time.
That takes longer than harvesting. Plus we have a pig bowl. So this is all our food scraps from the harvest from this morning. So nothing go to waste. Either give it to the chickens or the pigs.
So these peppers are going in the freezer. We have a couple bags of these sliced peppers, and we can just pull them out and throw them in whatever it is that we're cooking later on in the year. I have these diced. I'm not sure if I'm gonna freeze these or if I'm going to put them in right now as dinner. But I have some more peppers in the fridge, so I'm just tired of chopping. We've got some kale and all the basil, and everything is washed and ready to go. But yeah, it does take a long time. We do have this dehydrated too. So we have some peppers dehydrated, we have some frozen. I didn't can any peppers, but I did do